Oh, today's going to be a goodie.
And so it is definitely going to be a goodie as we go into tips for releasing doubt. Sometimes the best way to release doubt is to acknowledge that you do it. Let's face it, we all do. We all do.
Well, that's exactly it. Acknowledge and be aware.
Yes.
But
there's our theme.
Your AAs.
That's our thing. Yeah. That's our AA. Yeah. So that would actually be our tip number 1, is to acknowledge and be aware that you have doubts in you.
Yeah.
And
there's no good or bad with that. It just is.
Debz is a stressologist. She will stretch your mindset to think bigger than you've ever thought before, with follow-through techniques that are realistic and achievable to blow any fear out of your mind. Moira is a mindset cultivator. She will help you align your personal trinity of self-trust, inner awareness, and self-confidence so that you discover and share your unique gifts and purpose. Together, their goal with these conversations is to share how our inclinations do not always work in our best interest and to provide the knowledge to leverage the gifts that already exist within each one of us. Their desire is to help you learn how to access the habits and behaviors that will lead to positive change and your best quality of life. Welcome to your deliciously motivated mindset.
Welcome, dear Deb.
Hi.
Hi. Here we are with another one of our deliciously motivated mindset podcast episodes. It's so fun to hang out with you like this. So deliciously motivated mindset with Debz, that would be
that's me.
That's me. And Moira, that would be me.
That's you.
And I'm really looking forward to this conversation. We're sharing top tips for releasing doubt. I think I'm kind of intrigued about what kind of fun rabbit holes we're going to go down with this one.
Oh, yeah. This will be a fun.
So, dear listeners, we would encourage you to have a pen and paper or a pencil and paper, because we're going to give you lots of tips and ideas and inspiration on this one. But before we get stuck into this, we like to do this assessment. This is just a self-awareness development tool to check in with yourself. And what we do is Deb doesn't like this part. This is the part that she doesn't like the most. So
this is the hardest part of the whole podcast.
So what we're doing is we're checking in on ourselves. And when I talk about checking in, I talk about the PEMS, all 4 pillars of you. So your physical well-being, your emotional, your mental state, and your spiritual connection. Where are you? And on this scale of 0 to 10. So at 0, we're calm, present, feeling balanced, harmonious, zened out. And at 10, we might be feeling a bit chaotic and stuck and, oh my God, and I don't know what to do and can I get out of here? And we move with this. We move up and down. We all do. So it's just a lovely tool to just help you assess and give some awareness with appreciation to what's going on for you. So all that being said, my dear, where would you put yourself?
I was a 1. I'm sorry, I was a 0 before we started. Mm-hmm. And when Moira started talking,
and she did that.
Yeah, I went, oh, hang on, this, and this. And I could feel, I'm going to say physical symptoms in my body went, oh. So I'm actually going to give myself a 2. I'd probably say a 1.5, but I'm going to give myself a 2 because this is an interesting topic. And if you don't acknowledge these tips, you're going to stay in that puddle of mud. You're going to stay at that 10. So that's why I'm giving myself a 2, because I'm like, I'm going to listen to what Moira's saying today as well. I do, but for me, I'm like,
And so interestingly, but not really surprisingly, I'm at a 2 also, because similar to you, I was in a really good place right as we were hitting record. And then I'm looking at releasing doubt. And of course, you get into all this chatter in your mind about, oh, but what about this? And what about, maybe I'm doubting myself too.
Oh, today's going to be a goodie.
And so it is definitely going to be a goodie as we go into tips for releasing doubt. Sometimes the best way to release doubt is to acknowledge that you do it. Let's face it, we all do. We all do.
Well, that's exactly it. Acknowledge and be aware.
Yes.
But
there's our theme.
Your AAs.
That's our theme. Yeah. That's our AA. Yeah. So that would actually be our tip number 1, is to acknowledge and be aware that you have doubts in you.
Yeah.
And
there's no good or bad with that. It just is. So acknowledge it and be aware of it. And then when you label, like if you've got a medical condition and you're like, I've had this medical condition for 10 years and nobody knows what it is. And then someone goes, oh, you have A, B, C, D. You go, oh, thank you. I've got the label. I can deal with the label now. Now, it is just a label, but it has that whole acknowledge and be aware and go, oh, that makes so much sense. Oh, now I understand. And then you go into Google, and then you're dying in 2 days, according to Google.
So don't go and talk to Dr. Google there.
Yeah. So just watch yourself with that. But even just understanding that, acknowledge and being aware of that label. And I'm saying label because it just seems a little bit softer, like, oh, that makes sense. But just go, oh, that makes so much sense for that.
So I love that you brought that up, because it reminds me of this long time ago. I had a lot of health issues and ended up being in chronic pain, like chronic pain. And there was no diagnosis for it, but then it was like, oh, you have to go for another major surgery. I'd already had major surgery, but no, you're going to have to go for another one. And so I was just in such turmoil with all this ongoing pain until, and this is when I actually lived in Scotland, these 2 specialists sat down and they diagrammed out and explained to me all of the things that were happening internally. And do you know, from that appointment, I never had that pain again. Because I suddenly went
right there and then.
Yep. Oh, I understand. I see what's going on. I get it. So that's that whole having the awareness, having the explanation, and it was an explanation that I could really get.
And I think it just allows you to go, that makes sense.
Yes,
that makes sense. Or if it doesn't, you do go to Google, but that makes sense. And I think that's the thing, is just so the old standard AA meeting, acknowledge and aware.
Yep.
That's the perfect one. I love that, because like you just said, as soon as I acknowledged and was aware of it, the pain actually disperses, and that's often what happens.
It is.
That's often what happens.
Absolutely.
And I think my next tip I'm going to say. Oh, did you get pen and paper, everybody?
Hope you did, because I did say it. I did.
Okay, you better get your pen and paper, because these are goodies. The next one I'm going to say is O. It's starting with O, and this word is called outcome. Don't attach yourself to the outcome.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
because and I'm saying, get clear on your desires. Absolutely. If this is the outcome you want, don't think that, oh, I'm not going to attach myself to any of that. Get clear on what you want, but be aware of others and be aware of the universe, that things can change at any time. Because we know 2020, we had an outcome. I had an outcome that I wanted on certain things. And then 2020 came and the universe went, we've got a little pandemic that's going on around the world. Yes. It's going to stay for 2-3 years too many. But so get clear on what you want and what you desire, but don't attach yourself to that outcome, because you can get yourself in such a state if you don't get that outcome that you want. But I've done everything. I've manifested that. I've done everything I've been told. And so then my it's never going to work. It didn't work last time. I wanted to get $1 million and I never got $1 million. You know, I was just thinking of that secret when you go to the mailbox and you get that check from the secret thing. But be aware, have your desires, but be aware that goalposts change.
Yeah, and so don't you think this has got a lot to do with surrender, the power of surrender?
Yeah.
I always think about that, about when you release attachment on the outcome. Of course, you can say, this is my preference, this is my desire, but then bring your awareness back to and surrender to, like you just said, the goalpost change. The options and opportunities shift and change too. So follow your heart's guidance, because that doesn't always, it's not always in a linear fashion, right?
Yeah. I love that. I love that. When I found out I was pregnant, and I found out and I was shocked, and I found out I was 16 weeks pregnant. So I wasn't just pregnant, I was pregnant. I'd gone past the first trimester of pregnancy and I didn't know. And I went to see, I don't know what you call it. I guess she was a counsellor. I'm thinking counsellor. I went to speak to a professional, and she said to me, did you want children? I was like, never. And she said, are you sure? And when we talked about that, and we unpacked some stuff, and I went, actually, yeah, no, I would have been happy having a child, I guess, but I couldn't see it fitting into my lifestyle. I couldn't see it fitting into my lifestyle. And so she said, okay, so the goalposts have moved. And I'm like, what do you mean? And so for me, I believed to have a child, I had to have the money in the bank account. I had to have the loving partner. I had to have the house. I had to be settled down, with
expectations,
all the bedrooms set up and enough food in the pantry and everything. I had to have that child, or that child, it's not worthy bringing that child into this world. And that was that whole, and she said, you've just moved the goalpost. You've just moved it closer. Instead of having all those things, you can still have. And I remember going, is it that easy? And that was it. So my doubt was, is it that easy? It actually is that easy. Okay, I'm just moving the goalposts. And when she said that, I then went, you're right, it is. It actually, I have just moved the goalposts. That's it. And just that label or the acknowledgement of that just instantly went, okay. And there and then, acknowledging that I'd moved the goalpost released my doubt on being a good mum. Right. Being a good mum, providing for the world, having a child, all those little things. And it just instantly released that doubt of just going, all you've done is move the goalposts. Now, that was my turning point in my whole having that child who's now 22, that child, dear wee cherub. But that was my big thing, is just moving, going, oh, I can move goalposts. I can move that.
Yeah.
Like, I can move the goalposts. End of story.
Yeah,
I know. And so that's that. And the reason I say that is, don't attach to that outcome. Yeah. Be aware of that outcome. Absolutely. And get clear on it. But 2020 changed a lot of people around the world.
Absolutely.
And still does.
still is happening. But don't you think too, one of the things that I think about doubt is, sometimes doubt is talking you, or trying to talk you out of the awareness that you wouldn't be in this situation if you did not have the capacity to come through it or deal with it, right? So sometimes we can be faced with a circumstance or some kind of challenge, and we start thinking, oh, I don't know, I don't think I can deal with this. I don't think I have the reserves or the ability or the capacity. But the truth is that really doubt has no place there, because maybe you can't see the route through it. Like for you, finding out that you're pregnant, you can't see your whole path into being a mother, but you're there.
My whole path suddenly went black. It went really dark without even any light bulb moment.
Right.
And my doubt of who I was as a person. And it is that, and I'm going to bring back to, well, I guess number 3 is your self-worth.
Right. Yes.
And your past stories, and what are you attaching to? but it is that.
It is that, but it's also so past stories don't belong sometimes in where you are in the present.
No, and that goes back to number 1, being aware of it and acknowledging it. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, that's an old past story. Well, that's a past story. I don't have to have that anymore. Or, kiss, blow away, and and it's gone. But it is that, going back to that, acknowledge and aware, or aware and acknowledge, and that's that self-worth with your past stories.
Absolutely. And so then another tip I would encourage, if a doubt becomes incessant, perhaps it's a doubt that's helping you or asking you to change pace, I should say. Like maybe the doubt is part of your own inner intelligence saying, yeah, it's a sign. It's a sign sort of saying, hey, you don't have to go running that marathon just yet, because there's something about to happen or show up, either internally or externally. So the doubt could be, so this is something to use as a inner
litmus
dialogue
test. Yeah.
Litmus test. Or just to say, okay, welcome in, doubt. What are you here to show me? Or do you have some guidance to offer me? Right.
And that jumps back to that acknowledge and aware.
Yeah.
Seeing it and just and questioning it from a heart space, not a head space that
truly
you get the Pac-Man or the mosquito of doubt.
Yes. And you know that I think we can recognize them, because a doubt that's got a message for you is not going to keep repeating and looping and crazy making. It's just going to come up like in an organic fashion. Whereas, and so this is about a tip for releasing doubt, is to just assess what kind is it. Is it something that's like prattling away, like
is it legit?
Is it legit?
Is this real?
Yeah.
Is this legit? Yeah.
That's a good tip in itself. Is this legit, or am I making up a story? Or making an assumption even.
Right? Assumption is the mother of all stuff ups. Did you see there was no beeping there?
Nope, you just paused. See, you paused.
For once. But you're right. Is it legit? And I think the thing I'm going to say is, don't run from any of this stuff.
Truly, yeah.
And that can come back to the sign, or is it legit, or your self-worth. Is don't any of them is don't run from it. Like, because we know, and I remember you telling me a story one time, and it was about the snowball coming down the hill,
right?
The mountain.
Yeah.
We say hills in New Zealand. Moira says mountains. We've still got mountains.
We're in Canada.
Yeah, we're in New Zealand. Exactly. So, and it's that snowball that comes down the mountain, down the slope, and it collects all the branches, the sticks, the odd skier, the odd snowboarder, the odd animal, and it collects it and collects it and collects it, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And when it collapses at the very end, it's not just snow, it's a whole accumulation of shite,
all this other stuff, absolutely,
that you've attached to you. And you also do another one. You talk about the lint roller. Remember what's that one?
I'm not sure. I can't remember the lint roller one, but I do know that the thing of saying negativity has too much Velcro.
Oh yeah, that's yeah.
So is that doubt just being a negative little whiny voice in you that you're getting too caught up by?
I like that whiny voice.
Yeah.
It's because you can hear that whiny.
I don't think this is going to happen, or it's not going to work out. Or
oh my god! And just for the record, no one wants to be around that whiny person.
No.
And even if you come to me for consulting, no matter how much money you pay, if you start whining, I'm already going to stop you right there and then. I'm not going to reach through the Zoom or the phone and gag you, but I'm literally going to slap you. There is going to be no gagging. It's that whiny voice is taxing on others and taxing for your soul.
Truly.
So you're right. Negativity has too much Velcro. Watch that whiny.
Yeah.
And in saying that, we go, oh, I never said that out loud though, but you're thinking it. I just say this? If you're thinking it, you're saying it. It's still there. It's still out there in the vibration, just because you haven't.
The energy's there.
But so many people don't know that. But they go, oh, I never said that to the person. Take a good look at what you looked like. Take a look at your energy before, during, and after. Do you think they could see that? No. Ask again. Do you think, well, actually, yeah, they did, because then they just turned around and walked away and left me. So do you think, even though you kept it in your head, do you think they saw it? Yes. Yep. Okay. So It doesn't matter if you're holding those words in your head or you're saying them out loud, the universe can hear, and that's all the people around you. If they're present, they can see that stuff.
Well, if they're, I mean, to be honest with you, we're energetic beings. So whether they see you or not, if you have it in your vibration, it can be felt.
They can feel it, but they may not register the whole, that's what, until down the track.
Yeah.
And then they go, I remember them saying this. Now I remember, oh my God, I've had all these signs all along. How did I miss these? Yeah. But I do love that negativity has too much Velcro, because that's exactly it. And pulling it off, it makes a loud noise.
I know. But pulling it off, I really like it, because it's like, ta-da, I'm free.
Well, is that like popping those bubbles?
When you a bit like that.
A parcel and and you open them up and you're like, oh yeah, I'm more excited about the popping the bubbles. Yeah, there's actually what's inside around that bubble. But I do think that negativity has too much Velcro. I think that's a great one.
And so, because let's face it, doubt is going to take you into that negativity. Right? Doubt will say, I'm not good enough. I'm not ready. I made the wrong decision. I don't have the capacity. I don't have the ability. So it's always, there's the no and don't and ascribe to this. So it's kind of like, okay, wait. I'm going to undo that Velcro connection and see what is the truth of where I'm sitting right now. Knowing that I'm worthy of the best outcome, which then I surrender because I don't get attached to it. Right.
I actually going to put that as a tip. What is the truth? About? Even though we've got, is this legit? But what is the truth?
That's a really important part.
Because we can, our head can run crazy as stories, but our heart will always tell us the truth.
Absolutely.
Decisions made in the heart, you can't stuff it up. It's 100% is sitting in that heart. So what is the truth?
What is the truth? And then so when I was saying about the dialoguing with doubt, so maybe you could actually be a bit of a journaling exercise. If this doubt, if it's a repeating doubt, okay, thank you, doubt, you're here to teach me something or to direct something or guide me in some way.
Annoy me.
Or annoy me. But what is the truth behind it? And see what is maybe the doubt is blocking you from seeing what is your truth, or what is the truth of this matter, or what is it that you would most dearly love to have, to experience, to head towards. And so maybe that doubt is kind of blocking you from sitting still just enough to experience what is that? What is the truth of you? What is your authentic, I want to go in that direction kind of piece? Because let's face it, doubt can actually derail us before we even get off the couch and open the door.
Yeah, exactly. It immobilizes you. Like it will literally immobilize you. So you go into that fear, freeze, and that's it. And then you just go, well, there's no point in doing it now because I'm 3 days overdue. So I just won't even submit it, or I won't even do this.
Right.
Yeah. The next tip I'm going to talk about is others' input.
Yes.
And the reason I say that, I was watching last night on TV, I was watching Say Yes to the Dress. Say Yes to the Dress. And it was about Daddy's girl. So everything had to be approved. Daddy was paying, so Daddy had to approve the wedding dress before you could approve it. And it was, and for me, it was a very challenging episode. It was a very challenging, because these women, these brides to be, were sitting in doubt of their intuition. They put a dress on and they went, this is amazing. This is amazing. Oh my God, I love it. It's perfect in every way. Racing out there, Daddy, what do you think? Oh, that's not good. That makes your bum look big, or that makes this. And it was like, I was like, what? And then you just see that whole face of, oh, okay, I won't put this on. And there was two brides to be, who didn't choose because their dad didn't like anything. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't care if your dad is paying and this lights you up. Dad, I need to have a word with you very firmly. But I be aware of those other inputs. And there was this woman who was, and we have sizes in New Zealand. So this woman was probably a size 6 or size 8. Okay. And I don't know what it's like in your size. That's tiny.
Okay.
To me, that's tiny. And she got on camera and she says, oh, I definitely don't want a fishtail because I have these hips and they're going to stand out. And I turned to my partner, I said, guarantee she's going to have a fishtail. And she kept saying, I have these hips, I have these hips, I have these hips. Well, the woman kept saying to her, you've got a beautiful figure. And she's like, no, I have these hips, I have these hips. And my partner, Tracy, she was saying, oh gosh, she does, she's got nothing. And I said, but you can say that to her 100 times in a minute that you don't have hips. She's got hips.
And she won't hear it.
She's not going to hear it because she has her own internal dialogue that is so locked in, because we're talking about these, what is the truth, is this legit? She has her internal dialogue that she has had this for so long. I've always had these hips. Well, for a start, everyone has hips, but her hips weren't. And when she tried on a fishtail dress, her hips, her part that she hated the most just was actually the best part of that whole.
A quick wee message before we get back to this episode. You can get access to a special gift Moira and Debz have put together for you. Go to deliciouslymotivatedmindset.com/gift. When you sign up, you'll receive instant access to an inner peace kit and the 30 Days of Wisdom program, both of which is intended to help you feel deliciously motivated right away. Go to deliciouslymotivatedmindset.com/gift.
And the next best part was her smile when she tried it on and she was blown away. But be aware of, and I'm saying that because that other's input, she has that story, but this other, the whatever you call it, the designer was saying, you look stunning, a fishtail look perfect on you. And she's like, no. And she was just so firm. It was black and white. It was that black that there was no way. And anyway, she got into a fishtail and it looked stunning because the stylist knew what was the best for her figure shape. She's styling, I don't know how many a day, but she knew her stuff. So she had that, but the woman had the input. She wasn't listening to the woman, but also the dad had the input. So there's two different levels to that other's input is what I'm saying. Right. Because they can tell you look beautiful. And if you don't feel or acknowledge it in your heart, you're not.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's go.
Well, this reminds me of one of the tips out of that book by Napoleon Hill called Think and Grow Rich.
That's on my bookshelf over there. I've got that one. Of course, Moira knows exactly the book. Yeah,
of course. That's just how I roll.
She hasn't quoted from a book for a while, I would have to say.
No, that's true. It's been a few episodes since I've done that. But no, the thing that came to mind about this is that he one of the principles he talks about is to be aware of who you share your unique idea with. And so what you're saying here is that you only want people assessing the dress who have your best interests at heart or who support you or believe in you, or right? Yeah. Because so the point being is, and how he described it in this book is that if you go and tell somebody your auspicious dream, the thing that you would love to create or to have, and you tell somebody that is saying, well, how expensive is it, and or you don't deserve it, and then really it's actually you that derailed yourself there. It's like you actually allowed the other people's input to be internalized for you. Yeah. Right.
Well, you've taken on their Velcro and it's stuck to you.
Yes. The negativity, yep, is stuck on you now.
Yeah, and that. Well, it was interesting because for me, the guy last night, one of the ladies put on a beautiful dress and it looked stunning, and it was $1,000 over their budget, and he said no, and I was like, you miserable beep beep beep, because she lit up, and I understand budgets, like I get that, but if you saw her, she came out, and then you just saw her. It was like it wasn't even like it wasn't even a slow deflating of the balloon. It was a pop.
Right.
And he said, and he said, oh, it looks lovely. It's beautiful. You look lovely on it. And he said, what's the price? And she said, oh, it's a little bit over budget. And he said, how much is a little? And it was double. It was double the price.
Right.
And he said, no, get it off. And at that, like, he had warmed her up, and he just said, that looks beautiful, da-da. And that was it, done, gone. Gone, just literally out of the way. And I just thought, oh my gosh. So, and I've had people say to me, oh, okay, I can consult with you, but I need to check with my wife or my husband or something. And at that moment, I'm like, oh my gosh, the first thing I'm going to do is going to break that little thing of, being able to make your own decisions and being okay with it. Is this good for me? Is this good for others?
Yeah.
Do I want to do this?
Yeah.
And I fully understand. When you're in a relationship about budgets, checking in with the other person before you jump on that. But be aware of your circle. And you're right. It is. I love that. Be aware of your circle, because they can build you up or destroy you very quickly if you allow them.
Yeah.
Because they have their own past stories as well.
Of course. But right? Who is your trusted supporters and the people who are on the same level and support, etc. Right. So it is, and that's why I'm saying is that when we go and speak to, it's like somebody that talks you out of it when you already knew they were going to do that.
I know.
That just magnifies the doubt, right?
I know. And one of the women, I don't know why, she decided she had a full arm sleeve tattoo. Now it came from the shoulder all the way right down, and she said to them, and I went, did she just say that? I literally. And she hadn't told her dad that she had a tattoo. Dad hates tattoos.
Oh dear.
Mum and dad are sitting there. Mum doesn't know. And she's in a bridal gown, and like, that's hard to hide, a full sleeve all the way down. And so the man who was styling her went, your dad doesn't know? And she goes, no, Dad absolutely hates tattoos. And he's like, so today's the big unveiling of your tattoo. And you could see him going, oh my God. Like, I would have been putting my hand on my heart and my hand on the wall going, oh my God, how am I going to do this? Okay, this is about. And she came out and she unveiled it, and Dad goes, that's a lovely thing. And then she turned around and the color, because if you're, and he was
his face,
it just went, and I could see him, and he had cameras on him. So I suspect he reacted very differently with the cameras on than he would if she had done it at home.
So maybe that was part of the design.
Well, yeah, and they gave her a beautiful sleeve to cover the whole lot up, but she still had a little bit around the top, and she loved it, and Dad actually loved it in the end. But that's just for the record. That was to me, that wouldn't be the wisest move to drop that. A full sleeve, not just a little tattoo, a full sleeve from the
shoulder
neck
to wrist,
shoulder, like a t-shirt shoulder, all the way right down to the wrist. That's and she was unveiling that then. But be aware of.
But then, so see, she was releasing doubts on whether she could get away with it or not.
Yeah, she did it on camera. I think it was actually like, I definitely thought about it afterwards, and I thought that's a bit of a smart move for her, because Dad's not going to react. But I think you might cop this later, love.
Yeah. When the cameras are not rolling anymore, it might be a bit different.
We might need to sit down and have a good conversation about how long have you had that. And he didn't say how long she had it for, but I was like, how could you hide that whole sleeve? It's not even a little tattoo, but yeah. So what I'm saying is, be aware of other people's input.
Yes. Yeah.
Would be that one.
Be aware, and like you say, let other people's opinions are not actually your concern anyway. Yeah. So coming back to releasing your own,
and even if they're paying for your wedding dress.
Yes.
and that is absolutely another way to release that doubt of being aware of the other people's input.
Yes. And
so we've got time for one more, Moira.
Oh, one more.
We've got time for one more tip before we sign off, and I'm going to hand that one back to you. What's one more tip before we wrap this up?
We've talked, there's so many different pieces that we could take this one.
I know. Do we need another tip?
Well, maybe we see the thing about releasing
Listen
doubt.
to me. Did you hear me say doubt then? Just
Yes,
for
you
everyone,
did.
did you hear
You
me go
did.
doubt?
You did.
Do
You
we
did.
need another tip?
We do need another. I think that the tip is about confidence, self-confidence. You've got this.
I was just going to write confidence. I was just going to write. I've got the number, and then I've got C, and then you said confidence, and I'm like,
so funny.
Okay, of course we both end on the same.
Right into there.
Yeah.
So the thing is, and we touched upon it at the beginning. I think in tip number 1, we were talking about everybody has doubts, but to allow the doubt to just come through you and not derail your self-confidence. You are a confident, worthy being. We talked about worthiness in here too, but allow yourself to say, hello, doubt, thanks, but I'm confident, I've got this. I'm going to go for what I really am inspired to do. This is is follow your inspiration. Actually, and we've talked about this in a previous episode about that shifting from desperation to inspiration, because doubt can take you into desperation, but confidence will take you back into inspiration. So it's like, just come back to what are you inspired to do, to be, to put into motion, to experience, right?
Yeah. And the branch from that confidence is make the decision and move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when you're confident, you actually make the decision, I'm done, and then move on. Don't let it creep back in or anything, because you may like then go, oh, maybe, because that's that doubt, maybe, oh, should I, ought to have had da-da-da. And so having that confidence of making that decision, because right here, right now, you made the best decision with what you had. Then you find out more information and you can easily change it, but make that decision and move on.
Yeah.
So and that is and that's part of your letting go process.
It absolutely is.
I'm just going to say, I'm sure that's part of her letting go process, and that's a great one to end on. It is that letting go. So if you want to know about Moira's letting go process, she has it.
Let me know. Just let me know.
Yeah. So is there anything else before we wrap these up? Because I'd love to hit these ones. These are fantastic ones.
These are great. No, I'd love to start our recap. I think we're going to go into recap, aren't we?
We're going to go to recap. Number 1, the 2 AAs. Acknowledge and aware.
Debz and Moira's AA version.
This is totally our AA version.
Our AA
version. AA. Yeah, but yeah.
Yes.
I do watch Mum, so I watch those AA meetings. I don't know if they're all like that. Did you ever watch Mum? That is some crazy, funny. Okay, right.
Oh no, yes. Sorry. Yes.
I was going to say, see, that's the difference between Moira and I. Yeah, I laughed hysterically at that.
No, I love that show. It is quite funny.
It is funny. Yeah, that's the closest I've ever been to an AA meeting. Just for
probably me too, actually. Truth be told.
Yeah. So our AA is acknowledge and aware.
Right. And into that we said having an understanding, right? Yeah. And understanding what's going on. Another tip we talked about, surrender, release from the outcome.
Yeah.
So we can have dreams, aspirations, choices, but then let go, flow, allow things to allow the goalpost to move. That's what you were talking about, right? And
change that.
Yeah.
And I wrote down here, follow the heart's guidance.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that. It's not attaching to that outcome.
Definitely.
Yeah. Beautiful. The next tip I have is, and I've got self-worth, and then underneath I've got past stories. So, when we talk about acknowledge and aware, that self-worth that you have for who you are, and being aware of those past stories that come in.
Yeah, absolutely. So a tip that I had following on from that is that when you're sitting with doubt of, oh, I don't know if I can do this, and what about this, and what about this, is to have a mindset of acceptance, that you can do it, because you wouldn't be in this situation if you couldn't.
I truly believe the universe will never give you a challenge you cannot handle.
Me too.
I'm 100% firm on that.
Yeah, me too.
And people go, no, but what if like you handled that before? You did that.
Exactly.
Remember,
Exactly.
they're like, I've never had this. I'm like, remember 4 years ago you talked to me about, oh, I did, and I survived. Yes, but you've obviously forgotten. So you're
But
not
the
going to
thing
get
is
something you
that
cannot deal
we
with.
may not know it or actually recognize it, but if we have a sense of trust of, okay, I wouldn't be here if I couldn't do it, so I'm going to surrender, I'm going to let it show up, I'm going to, you know, keep taking the tiny baby steps. That can help release doubts right there, just in that in itself.
Yeah. I love that. Oh, your tip. Is it my tip? My turn? Whose turn?
Well, I was just saying about accepting.
Oh, yeah,
even a bit. Yeah.
So I've got signs. There's signs everywhere, and I wrote down litmus test, because these signs do tell you if this is you, or if this is somebody else, or what it is, or if this doubt is real. Like, there's signs everywhere when we're sitting in the zero moment.
Yes.
The 0 to 10, you can get the signs. I don't believe when you're sitting in a 10 you're going to get signs.
Right.
When you're sitting in that 10, you've got to go back to, well, it's wise to go back to that hand on the heart and just breathe. And then that's that trust.
Yeah. So you can,
until you're ready. And if that takes 3 minutes of sitting there with your hand on your heart to get you out of that, and then you can start moving,
so be it.
Then that 3 minutes is a gift you're giving yourself that is so incredibly important.
And to what you said there, I added the what is the guidance of this doubt?
Yeah.
And we said that, what is the guidance of the doubt? And is this legit?
Yeah,
right?
is this legit? Perfect.
Yeah, we said that.
Yeah.
Velcro,
is it?
Yes. I said that negativity has too much Velcro, and when we're spinning in doubt in that whole scenario, we kind of get stuck. So just having that awareness of like, oh, am I just getting really too stuck and caught up on all this doubt? And as I'm saying that, I can hear the sound of
yeah. And I was actually just seeing the hamster on the wheel. I know I've talked about this, but that hamster on the wheel just goes round and round and round. And you know the only way for that hamster to get off is jump. And often you jump and you get dizzy and you have to sit still for a moment.
Yeah, like, or it's very true.
Because that's
recalibrate.
That's whoa, everything's vertigo right now. And that's but goes that Velcro. I didn't even have any Velcro here. And I know we've talked about this, but this is jumping back in, is what is the truth?
Yes.
And that's our heart decisions. What is the truth here? Not what is the bigger picture? Yes, but what is the truth? And sitting in our heart with those decisions. And that wisdom will come immediately. What is the truth? It's just creating some space. It doesn't have to be forced, like and then the other part that you started talking, and we can riff on this one a wee bit, is about being wary of and being aware of others' input. Because we don't, and what my part of that conversation was the being wary of who are you sharing your deepest desires with. Who's your circle? Do you have a bunch of naysayers around you? And if so, then you don't want to be sharing things that are a little bit delicate or that you're just exploring, right? Who was I talking to yesterday? I had a very busy day yesterday. Oh yeah, I was talking to a client who was saying that their sister was giving my client business advice, and I said, is your sister, is this the one who has 4 children and is at home? And it did come out pretty harsh. It is at home with 4 children and doesn't work and expects her husband to be home at a certain time and just constantly. And my client was like, yes. And I'm like, and she's giving you business advice on how to run your business. And she was like, yes. And I said, so she's never had a business. She sits up. Now, there's nothing wrong with her never having a business. She's got her 4 children and she waits for her husband to come home at night and she has the meal cooked and she has this and this is, but she's giving you business advice on what to do. What is her business role that she's been involved with? Where's her skill set? What is this? And I did go into judgment. Absolutely. I was like, oh, you're going to have to be aware of this. You either shut that down until you get yourself in that zone or just acknowledge her and send her on her way. but for her sister had no inkling to running a business ever. Her partner works for somebody as well, so they've also not in their circle having people around who know how to build a business.
Yeah.
They're definitely employees, which is a different mindset, an employee to an employer.
Oh, for sure.
And so that's exactly it. So watch that. That Pac-Man and that mosquito of doubt is actually not you. That's others.
Yeah. So
and their sting can be very strong. Yeah, and that's where I was talking about those brides. Those brides of
truly.
the woman with the hips, or the dad's paying, so I can't have it. So they walked out of there with that no dress because dad didn't like the beautiful dress that lit her up.
That's sad, very sad. The last point that I had here was self-confidence, which we actually laughed because that was both of our last tip.
Because we both, I said, I had a little bit of doubt and I said, do you want to give another tip? And I was like, what's my tip? And just as I'm starting to write C, Moira goes, confidence. I'm like, perfect.
Yeah. So know that like keep coming back to your own confidence. I've got this kind of mentality, and thanks doubt. You're not allowing you to derail me. I've got this. I'm confident. I'm strong. I'm worthy. I'm capable, and keep taking those steps forward.
And that confidence jumps back to that desperation over inspiration.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow, we did incredibly well of wrapping that one up.
Yes, that was pretty good.
I think
flowed really nicely. Yes, I have no doubt about that.
Yeah, I've got certainty in that one. I've got absolute certainty. And my favorite one is the person with the most certainty rules the game.
Right.
Now it's not being an a-hole with certainty, but if you've got certainty, people can't filter in
can't
or anything.
Sway you off.
Yeah, that's it. This is me. Yeah.
Yep, this is that.
Wow. Well. So there's some tips for today. I trust that everybody got some value in today. And at the very start, we both, Moira and I, checked our litmus test of where we're sitting emotionally, being from a 0 to a 10. And funnily enough, we were both 2s. And prior to this, I was a 0 until I went, oh, this is going to be an interesting one. And I instantly jumped to a 2 because that's being truthful. That's where I went. So, Moira, what's your number where you're sitting at right now? And people, I'd love you to rate yourself of where you're sitting. So what's your number, Moira?
I'm at a 0.
Yeah.
I am.
It feels a different 0 to another 0. It just feels like, yeah, but not a, place, but it's definitely that 0 sitting there.
Yeah, comfortable, confident, no doubts.
Yeah,
just being there.
Just be sitting at that moment. So we'd love to know where you're at, people. Let us know how you jumped from the number before to the halftime check-in number to the very end number. And our deliciously motivated mindset conversation about top tips for releasing doubt. I would just like to give one more tip to people. And Moira's like, oh no, what's she going to say? What's she going to say? And this is actually a tip with action. So if you, a TA, if you loved today, if you liked today, if there was one topic that you absolutely love, one tip, if there was 2, if there was 3, if there was 4, if there was 9, if there was any tip that you loved, if you loved it, the next step is to share it. Share this podcast. Yeah, that's the action behind it. Share it with those you care about. Share it with those you don't care about it. Share it because we all know that you do care about people. Share with people who you believe are having doubt over decisions or lifestyle, anything. Share this because there's definitely some golden nuggets sitting in here for them.
Definitely.
So that's it.
That's it.
Oh, that's us over and out. Thank you, Moira, for today. I really love this one. Top tips for releasing doubt. And I giggle because we recorded this and I'm going to go, wonder what's going to happen today. Wonder what's going to come into my world today, literally around this topic.
Beautiful.
So thank you, listeners, for listening to our Deliciously Motivated Mindset with Debz and Moira. And our topic conversation was top tips for releasing doubt. We will see you. No, you won't see us. You'll hear us.
You hear us. Yes.
Next time. And we are just a message away. We are just a
Absolutely.
message away.
Always remember that. Just a message away.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So thank you, Moira.
Thanks,
you, listeners. And thank you to the internet and the podcast team of putting this together. That's mainly Moira and our offsiders. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
That's me signing out.
That's me signing out too. Thanks. See you next time.
Thanks. Bye.